I want to welcome the GMs and the wives, the godly men and the warm, inviting, feminine, empathetic women out there. Today's video topic is a semen retention episode. And for those that are just new to my channel, I usually do semen retention Sunday episodes. But today, seeing that it's nearly the 2-year mark since I started semen retention, I figured I'd do a 2-year semen retention video recap and the lessons that I've learned and where I'm going to go with this from here. Because at this point in my life, semen retention has absolutely become a lifestyle. It's not even really a question of can I even do this anymore. It's nothing really. It's really not all it's cracked up to be. Once you get to a certain point down the line, the semen retention just becomes a way of life. You know, trying to get to certain days or certain weeks or months for some of the men out here, it can be very challenging. I'm not trying to just diminish those accomplishments, because it can be very, very empowering for a lot of men to be able to make it a certain amount of days or weeks or whatever without having to fall back into PMO. And for those that are not familiar with PMO, it's corn, which I can't really say the word on here on YouTube yet, but corn, masturbation, and orgasm. If you are someone that is still stuck, let's say, with PMO and you're trying to overcome this, understand and recognize that you're only like, it is a juggernaut. It is a psychological juggernaut that you are dealing with. But also, once you get to a certain point in the semen retention journey, it really just doesn't matter too much. It just becomes a way of life. You just kind of get used to these things happening in your life where you feel as like your life is a movie in some sense, just because of the power that you have within you now. You're living the most fulfilling, complete life that you can possibly be doing in this day and age, because you're just committed to that lifestyle, and you're not trying to get anything from anybody at this time now. You're actually trying to give value. And you'll understand that the more that you're able to have something to give in this life, the more you actually make in life in general. And I'm not just saying materialistically, I'm talking about the internal as well. So 2 years, it's kind of weird to think about going this far. I never thought I would even be doing semen retention at one point in my life. Didn't even know what semen retention was, or brahmacharya. Didn't know what these things and these terms meant at one point in my life. And now it's become almost so second nature that I don't need to focus on it all the time. So many men think that semen retention is this mystical thing that happens to you and that can happen. And don't get me wrong, like, the world doesn't want you to know about semen retention. Absolutely not. The world does not want you to know about this kind of thing, because you'll start to feel that you are your natural self. You are just being who you are. And in being who you are, you're going to attract the right people into your life. And when I say you're going to attract the right people into your life, I'm not talking about some like attraction of law or like law of attraction type shit. It's not what I'm talking about. You are, simply by being true and authentic to who you are attracting the experiences and the people that are necessary to elevate you in this life. And you also might be seeing things from a different perspective, in which you need to let go of other things. You might be trying to like hold on to a rope that holds on to the boulder of the past. And yet God has this slingshot set for you right over here. All you have to do is let go of the past, this boulder holding you back, and get in the slingshot and shoot for the stars. Transcend. Go beyond all of the limits that you thought were possibly already in place. And yet you don't want to let go of that stupid boulder because you're used to the boulder. You're not used to the stars. The stars are like something else entirely. And so you don't want to let go of the boulder, but at the same time, you want to get in the slingshot because you know that transcendence and ascension in the spiritual life and growing closer to God is ultimately what this semen retention journey is about. And so you're going to get to a point where if you practice this as a lifestyle, and if you just have if you happen to have a girlfriend right now, and or a wife or whatever, you're in a long-term relationship, let's say that. You're in a long-term relationship and you guys are intimate in some way, shape, or form. You can still practice semen retention for an allotted period of time where you can lead the relationship and say, look, I think for the next week or 2 weeks or whatever the amount of time that you want, I want to abstain from the physical intimacy so that we can grow spiritually closer to one another. Because ultimately, any kind of relationship that you have with people, and life is about relationships, and both people are committed to God first and then the people in life, you're naturally going to grow closer together when you both put God first anyway. So if you can put God first and make the hard decision to do so, because that's not always the easiest thing. It's not always the easiest thing to choose God over the person that you love when you're in the midst of a storm, right? When you are in the midst of a storm, it's hard to think about Jesus on walking on the water and calling his disciple out onto the water, and the disciple goes out and he keeps his eyes on Jesus up until he starts to lose faith and he falls into the water. You have to keep your eyes on God. You have to keep your eyes on the vision, because if you don't, that's when you drown. That's when you get lost at sea. That's when you get lost in the storm. And so you're going to be going through stages of purification throughout semen retention. And again, I don't want to diminish or dilute any progress that anybody's made, but you will get to a point in which semen retention is just a way of life. And you'll see that it's the natural way of being if you're not in a long-term relationship. You just feel better overall. You just feel more close to who you are and what you're about and what you're here to do and accomplish. And that's a good feeling. It feels good to be able to show love to yourself through sexual discipline. And that's ultimately the goal in other ways as well, is to create a value system in which the family is once more found to be a virtuous quality of society rather than a hindrance. I was at the coffee shop today and I was working outside, beautiful day, bit warm for the first time. I've started to feel like the heat is getting to me, but it's kind of a weird feeling considering for the last 7 months or so we've had snow and rain. But anyway, finally get to the point in which, working away, going whatever, and there's this group of women, older women, and you can tell they probably smoke. They've got into some things. They are not carrying themselves with a lot of class, let's say, either. And they're just like, they just don't look like they belong at this coffee shop either. Because this is one of the nicer coffee shops in town. And the reason that I go to this coffee shop is to stay away from people like that. So I don't know what they were doing there exactly. But anyway, the point is they were there and they start talking about how they're like 40, maybe in their 40s. Okay. and they start talking about how they're finally done with their one night stand days. Holy shit. It took you to 40 years old to figure that out? I mean, holy crap. And this one other woman was talking about how she wishes that she could have slept around more because she just can't get enough dick. Literally, like in the middle of public, she's just talking like this. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And I just can't help but think to myself, you know, some beta male, some beta dude stuck his thing in that. Like, someone gave this woman, this Jigglypuff woman, enough confidence and enough self-esteem in ego validation in which she thinks she hasn't gotten enough. All because some other beta male can't control their sexual urges. I mean, come on, guys. We got to do better than this. We got to do better. And I can say without a doubt, my skin over the past 2 years has changed so much. Even my facial structure, if you go look back into my old videos, if you look back to 2 years ago in my videos, nearly 2 years ago when I first started doing YouTube channel videos, it was like October of 2022 when I started to go consistently with YouTube. And you'll look through those videos and you can even tell a difference from then, just a year and a half to 2 years ago. The results and the proof is in the pudding. Okay. The proof is in the pudding. And so what we men have to realize is that we hold more power and more grace when we are not just shooting our load anywhere that we just feel like doing it. Because of course I'm going to have desires still. It's not like I have completely gotten rid of all of my desires. Try getting rid of your desires and then come back to me and see how that works for you. Okay. You're not going to get rid of your desires, but what you can do is accept them. And so, yeah, I have desires, but I don't always need to act on them, and I can accept them for what they are because I know that ultimately I can feel things and not have to act on them. I can accept it just as what it is. And I know that sometimes my feelings are not always an accurate representation of how I need to act in the situation. So, for example, as a man, if you're not completing things, you're not doing things because you have to do that, and you're going to have this amount of energy on semen retention as well. You're going to have just this unlimited amount of energy, it seems, where you can just go and go and go and go. That's all you do. You don't know anything else. You just go. And that's a good feeling because you're doing things, and even despite when you're feeling down or you're feeling a bit like you don't want to do things, some might call this feeling unmotivated. I don't believe in motivation, though. I don't believe in that stuff. I don't believe that... I think motivation is an illusion. And real strength, real dedication, let's say, comes from the willingness to be consistent in discipline. Because otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere, for sure. Of course not. How could you and why would you get anywhere? So, yes, this all comes down to and all stems from how well and how capable you really are in determining how to navigate your own life through discipline of sexual urges. Because if you can sexually discipline yourself, you can do a lot of things as a man. My life has changed for the better financially, physically, spiritually, and emotionally in every single way over the past 2 years. And I'm really glad that I've discovered this and I've done this and I've been able to have this momentum in life, because this momentum has built other things up, and it's built branches over here and branches over there. And there's just been this accumulation of knowledge and wisdom that comes with semen retention as well. But as I mentioned toward the beginning of this video, I am going to slow back on the semen retention videos for the time being, because I don't feel like it's necessary for this channel at this time to do so. And if you do want to know anything more about semen retention, I've got tons of topics. You can check my archives. Whether you're curious about wet dreams or sex dreams or the succubus or the Jezebel, whatever you are encountering on the semen retention journey, there's a likelihood that I've covered it in my archives. So do be sure to check that out if you haven't already. And with all that being said, stay blessed and peace be with you till next time.